In working on Doom Eternal, how does the Switch port compare to the original?
It's comparable in terms of the end result. Like if you're talking about that in terms of the development process, it's very different. And for one thing, we started working on Doom 2016 when it was a finished product with multiple post-launch patches and performance and bug fix updates. Whereas with this project, we started working on it early on. So the game was still in development. There were things still being finalized, about the final product. There were, features, that they were still looking at whether or not they wanted to put into the game. And so we were porting a game like that. It's kind of like, trying to hit a moving target.
Sure.
So it's a very different experience. So we were involved a lot earlier, which was great. It wasn't just that added challenges. It also gave us the opportunity to get involved early on and, offer feedback in terms of making features or systems play nice with the Switch. It also gave us an opportunity to get their input and advice on things early on, in terms of, the right clean way to support a feature. So it's a bit different when you're working with a post-launch product. You're kind of in a vacuum where you can make any change you want within reason because it doesn't affect anyone else. But we were working with them, and so changes we made could affect other platforms. Bugs could be introduced that we caused. So very different process.
Okay. All right. So it sounds like it wasn't developed quite in tandem with the other console versions. Is that correct?
Yeah, it was intended to be, as much as possible in tandem, but we handled all the development effort for the Switch. So, and what that means primarily is that, the art was developed for a much higher spec platform than the Switch. Sure. So, if you think about the bulk of the work that goes into making a title these days, it's a lot of it is the art. And so that art is designed for high-end PC and consoles. And so we were responsible for taking that art and making it work on the Switch.
Okay. You had mentioned before that the work you were doing on Switch could impact potentially the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One versions. Do you have any examples of that happening? I
just mostly mean in terms of introducing bugs, like,
okay.
Like since we were working in a shared environment.
Fair enough. Are you able to share any details about like target resolution ranges between docked and handheld mode or any other technical specifications?
I can't be precise because it varies so much, but I can tell you that it's comparable to our previous titles, with Doom 2016 and Wolfenstein 2 being the most obvious examples there. It's comparable. We were trying to achieve the same bar despite we were trying to achieve the same performance despite a much higher quality bar this time. And so that was a big challenge, but that was kind of our goal is, it has to be as good as these other titles despite the increased complexity.
I know that Doom Eternal was originally planned on being released at the same time as the other console versions for Switch. Do you mind elaborating on how that slipped and why?
So basically, as I mentioned, the quality bar was much higher. This game, Doom Eternal, was targeting 2020 PC builds, and really was a late generation title for the other consoles. This is a lot of experience under your belt with those consoles, so you're learning to get the most out of those in terms of performance. And so the bar was a lot higher, and the challenge of getting that to fit on the Switch was commensurate with that. Okay. And I'll let Cody go into more aspects of that too.
Yeah, sure. It's kind of a recap, but it was, and it's been stated before, it's one of the most ambitious projects that they've worked on at Red Id. Making a faithful translation of that to the Switch in itself was a challenge. We had a kickoff at the beginning of this project, and we knew that it was going to be challenging, but we knew that with our previous experience on id Tech 6, taking id Tech 7 into consideration, that, we could achieve a faithful translation. And at the end of the day, we're we're happy with it and excited to get it into Nintendo Switch users' hands.
What part of working with the original Doom helped you be able to, improve upon it with Doom Eternal? I know you mentioned that there have been challenges in trying to meet a target of a game 4 years later, and that's totally understandable. But I'd be curious to see how you built on the foundation of Doom 2016 to help with the development of this game.
I can jump in here first.
Go ahead.
So from production standpoint, there's really the human element that went into and continues to go into Doom Eternal, and that's really building and fostering the relationship with the devs at id Software. Mm-hmm. They have been instrumental through the entire process of getting Doom Eternal on the Switch. That collaboration started early. There were benefits from their team giving us guidance and support, and then on the other hand, there's guidance and support that we gave them to help all the platforms. So from a human element, having worked with them previously, established those relationships. We knew where the domain experts were. We had worked with them previously and had the confidence and familiarity with one another that we could get that help and support we needed. Yeah. And I'll let Travis talk more about the tech side.
Yeah, I mean, from a technical perspective, we id Tech 7 is a huge leap forward from id Tech 6 and id Tech 6.5. But there's a lot of core things that are similar or the same. So we were able to build on our previous knowledge, and a lot of the changes and optimizations that we applied for Doom 2016 and Wolfenstein 2 did apply. Not all of them, but we were able to bring forward a lot of our tricks that we had learned for optimizing id Tech for the Switch, and then we kind of learned as we went how to make id Tech 7 work well on the Switch, because there were a lot of new features and new ways of doing things that we had to adjust for. So we did, it definitely was a help. But because the quality bar was so high, all those optimizations that we carried forward with us gave us a starting point where we were, kind of like, it was like back at square one, like, okay, we threw all of our optimizations in, and the title is running about the way it was before we had any optimizations on Doom 2016. Mm-hmm. So, where do we go from here? And so that was the big bulk of the effort, was trying to find, little places we could improve performance despite all those previous changes, or in addition to all those previous changes. But yeah, it was a big benefit to having worked with them before, for sure.
Okay. Just for the layman like me, can you define id Tech? I don't want to assume.
Sure. So id Tech is the the engine that id products run on, and this goes back to the original Doom and Wolfenstein, and there have been various iterations over time. So Doom 2016 ran on id Tech 6. Mm-hmm. Wolfenstein 2 was sort of informally id Tech 6.5, okay, which included some further enhancements that they made for that title, which, despite being developed by Machine Games, it was in collaboration with id itself. And so this new version of id Tech 7 is kind of like, it's a next gen engine ready for high end PCs with tons of CPU cores and taking advantage of all the newest hardware features.
So it must be kind of, I see the challenge of going from this newest iteration of their development tools and then having to sort of step it back to hardware that it might not have been optimized for, right? What kind of experience did you gain working with id? I assume there was some sort of collaboration or some form from your guys to theirs.
It was definitely a lot of that. Their experience, they're a very talented, experienced group of developers, some of the kind of the best and brightest in the industry. And so, they have a ton of experience, a wealth of knowledge that we could draw upon. And so even though they may not be experienced with the Switch itself, we were able to talk about features and the engine itself, and get their perspective on, here's why we do things for this platform, mm-hmm, and being able to kind of just peel it all back to see, what was necessary and what could be best changed. So yeah, it's a lot. It's hard not to be too technical, so I'm kind of hedging my words, trying to keep it.
Yeah, I think it kind of goes. So I kind of go back to the layman kind of framing on your previous question. It's looking at just this kind of pulled back as they wrote idtech, so they are the domain experts. And when Travis says that they're sharp minds, like these are incredible minds, and to have them at our disposal for guidance, for optimizations, it's really priceless. So they've absolutely contributed and been there along our side this entire process.
So Doom 2016 could be argued as one of the first impossible ports that have come to Switch, right. Stuff that you wouldn't expect to be able to be running on that kind of hardware. From your guys' point of view, do you have any other games that you'd like to see or like to work on to come to Switch?
There's definitely a lot of games I would love to personally play on the Switch. Any game I can play in handheld and take to go with me is good. But I don't think we have anything in particular to talk about today with that.
Okay. What would you personally want to play?
Man, I mean, honestly, other Bethesda titles, to be honest.
Sure.
To plug my own desire. But.
I gotta say, I'm a big Rocket League person, so I've been happy that you've done that work to get on Switch.
Thank you.
So we've seen the introduction of things like game streaming on the Switch. Most recently, Control was brought to it there. How does that affect the scope of what kind of projects you guys would be working on?
I think it's an interesting tech. I think it's young in its infancy. I think that there's a place and an audience for it, but it doesn't necessarily change anything on our horizon. We're going to continue taking on challenging projects to get these on the hardware and for people to be able to use, offline and when they want to. I think that's one of the greatest things about the Nintendo Switch is that you have the availability to take it and go off the grid.
Yeah.
So we're going to continue doing what we do.
Yeah, and I don't know about you guys, but my ISP is miserable, so it's not exactly a good solution for me.
Well, but work from home probably isn't helping that.
No, absolutely not. I guess in regards to that, how has your experience been working from home since COVID hit?
It's been a challenge. It's definitely been a surprise, to us amongst everybody else that's collectively, challenged with this problem. It took just from the very basic level, getting the infrastructure home and that set up and all the correct permissions, et cetera. I mean, that took time, trying to figure out how long we're going to do this for. And then as it started to go wider and we realized that this problem is not going away as quickly as we had hoped, we had to adapt and just kind of be agile to the process of the day-to-day. We are a small team at Panic Button and we're in an open office. So, the benefit that we do get from being in a layout like that with a smaller team is that we have immediate access to all disciplines on the project, where if we need to escalate something, we can go grab them in person and say, hey, come look at this, et cetera. When that's taken away from you, you're kind of relied on new channels of communication, and just getting used to those processes at a very fundamental level has, had its effect on our team as well as I would expect from other teams doing game development. So we're not necessarily unique. We just kind of had to look at the problems and challenges and adapt to them.
Sure. Yeah. I guess we should consider ourselves fortunate that we have the option to work remotely.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah. At the end of the day, it was a decision that our stakeholders took on pretty early to just keep the safety of our employees as their kind of paramount importance. And they've continued to do so. And we just had to just be real about how to face those challenges. So we are fortunate. We're very fortunate. And, at the end of the day, we're able to wrap up a project like Doom Eternal on the Switch and get it out during one of the craziest years of our lives. And, we're excited, and hopefully, people stay indoors and play this game and continue to be safe through the holidays.
Absolutely. Yeah. We're almost done here. how do you think the release of the Xbox Series X and PlayStation 5 will affect sort of like what's feasible to be ported to Switch?
It depends. It depends on the developer. There's going to be developers who are going to push the bleeding edge and only focus on that. There's other developers who are going to, look at all the ecosystems and have those as targeted platforms. It's really up to the developer, and then if we're continue working on Nintendo Switch as collaborative projects, and we're willing and open to the challenge. But at the end of the day, it's really up to the people creating the content and what they want to target.
Yep. And I mean, keep in mind that, as long as developers are still making an Xbox One or PS4 version of their game, they're not going to be able to completely rely on ray tracing as their core rendering. So I mean, as long as there's a more traditional version of the game, that version will be easier to port. Obviously, it becomes a real challenge when you're porting a game that only supports ray tracing. But yeah.
Wait, you're trying to suggest ray tracing can't come to Switch?
It would be a challenge. Yeah.
All right. Last question for you guys. What's your favorite Doom game?
Well, it's an easy one for me, Doom Eternal. Doom 2016 was my favorite Doom game. But, as Cody mentioned, we were involved early in the process, and we got to see kind of, their vision for the game, early on. And we were in love with the gameplay changes, but also the scope of they really expanded the lore and the content universe, as it were. And that part was also really exciting to us, and still is. And so I think for me, that's what makes it my favorite game, is they took everything I liked about it, and then they made it even better and expanded on it. And you're still seeing that, obviously, with the release of Ancient Gods. So,
yeah, that's an interesting one, because if I kind of tap into the nostalgic side of my psyche, I can remember as a kid just booting up the original Doom and just being blown away, fascinated by this thing that was in front of me. So that should not be ignored. I think,
right.
It's just kind of in my DNA in some way. But the experience that, Doom 2016 and now building upon that play style for Doom Eternal, it's really kind of a toss up between those two. I don't think I could play one without playing the other, because Doom Eternal did build off of an incredible, reimagination, or not reimagination, but a new kind of design, and the action's incredible. And Doom Eternal really just brought it to 11 with, some new mechanics and some new options for the player. So I think the modern day experience that it brings is it's crazy. It's fast. It's kind of taps into all of your high level FPS player desires, and really leaves some options open to the player for customization. So I would say, the current iterations for sure one of my best go-tos for FPS.
Yeah, that's a fair point about nostalgia. That definitely skews your feelings on games, and I agree. I had Doom when I was fairly young, and it stuck with you.
Oh yeah.
Thank you both very much for sitting down and chatting with me. It's been very enlightening. And so
thank you.
I know your time's at a premium, and I won't keep you. Thanks a lot, guys. Have a good one.
Thank you.
All right.
Bye. Take care. Bye.
Cheers.
This video was made possible by our generous supporters on Patreon. Did you know that Nintendo World Report is funded directly by fans like you? When you support Nintendo World Report on Patreon, you get immediate access to multiple exclusive podcasts every month, exclusive Discord channels, an early look at select content, and more, all for as little as $1 a month. Check out patreon.com/NWR for all the details.